Jonathan Taylor, Colts running back. Remember, he's kind of upset about his contract situation, and Jim Irsay's been hinting, yeah, we'll be fine without you, even though that's unlikely this season. Well, he has been placed on the reserve/physically unable to perform list, meaning he will miss the first 4 games of the season, including week 2 against your Houston Texans. Okay. Got to be feeling a little bit better about that game. And listen, I have totally drank too much Battle Red Kool-Aid. Too much. Oh, yeah. Like, too much. But I feel pretty good about the Texans' first 6 games. Now, hear me out. Lamar Jackson on the road against Baltimore week 1. That does sound a tad intimidating.
Yes, the greatest number 8 in NFL history.
True.
If not Steve Young.
Right.
Taking on rookie coach, rookie quarterback in week 1.
But you have a first-year offensive coordinator in Todd Monken there, who I do think is going to be able to unlock new things with Lamar Jackson.
But it might take some time.
You do have Odell Beckham Jr. They drafted Zay Flowers. They're probably going to lose that game.
Yeah, I mean, because you can say the same thing with the Texans.
Correct.
They also have rookie head coach, offense coordinator, defensive coordinator,
rookie quarterback. Right, rookie everything. But week 2, you're going up against the Colts and Anthony Richardson without Jonathan Taylor. Week 3, they haven't lost in Jacksonville since 2017. They're playing the Jaguars then, and they've been really bad at times over that stretch. They even beat them in Jacksonville last year. I don't think Jacksonville is all that good. Week 4, the Steelers are above average at best. Some of these people that are hyping up Kenny Pickett need to relax a bit.
He made some throws against.
He's solid
in the preseason.
I think he's solid. That does not mean we're talking about a top 12 quarterback.
It's definitely a, like, all these games I would classify, maybe except for the Ravens, to be honest, I would classify as winnable. The Texans should not be favored in any, maybe against the Colts. Is the Colts at home? Anyway, they're all winnable games.
Okay. I'm with you there. Desmond Ridder and the Falcons week 5. I feel like the Texans are going to give up 300 yards rushing in that game, but it's Desmond Ridder at quarterback. And then week 6 is Derek Carr and the Saints. I think they could go 4-2 over that stretch.
Wow, you are drunk on.
I'm drunk on the Kool-Aid.
My God.
Listen, I'll admit it, but I think it is. I don't know if I'd have the balls to actually say they will go 4-2 over that stretch, but their schedule is very, very favorable this year, and that is a very nice way to start things off. I don't think 4-2 is crazy. I don't. I would not go any further than 4-2.
I think it's a little crazy.
We'll see. We'll see.
Maybe could go 4-2.
I'm locking up week 2 against the Colts with no Jonathan Taylor. Lock. They're going to win that game.
Paul Gallant lock?
Lock!
Go to mybookie.com right now.
Mybookie.ag.
.ag. And
hell yeah. Promo code 975.
Yeah. Before they change the line, before everyone knows how good the Texans are, after they are scrappy against Lamar Jackson in week 1.
That one might get ugly.
That one's one of the two. One of the 2 losses.
I think that they will lose to the Ravens, and I bet they will lose to the Falcons. But I think 4-2. I'm talking myself into it more and more.
I think like 2-4.
So yesterday, the Houston Texans finished their cut down to 53. We did tell you about it. They cut Desmond King. Not that surprising. I thought he didn't play very well, specifically in that game against the Miami Dolphins. But other people were like, well, he's been here for a couple of years. Okay. Roy Lopez, who was a guy that the Houston Texans drafted, the first draft class of Nick Caserio, Jacob Martin, another guy, Christian Kirksey. And I got to say, Christian Kirksey being cut and some of the reaction to that, we got to talk about something here. The statistic tackle in the NFL is a very overrated statistic. And it constantly gets used to make certain players who maybe aren't what they used to be. I would point to Bobby Wagner over the last couple of years. People will look at the tackle numbers, and then they'll give a linebacker first team all-pro, sometimes because of the tackles. And we're talking about people that actually pay attention to football. And there's a lot of other people, too, who will say, oh, well, a guy had a lot of tackles. I saw a really dumb interaction in response to this Christian Kirksey news. Some guy said, wow, he was a big factor in that defense last year. Someone responded saying, no, the bleep, he wasn't. This dummy said, he had over 120 tackles last year. What do you mean? And then people started getting into the solo tackles and the assisted tackles. Shut up about tackles. Guys, you know how I made first team all district playing high school football? Because I had a bunch of tackles as a safety. I'm not even kidding. I had a lot of tackles. That doesn't, it's not a true reflection of how much of a difference maker you are. I'm admitting that. Like, I know I wasn't that good. I am proud that I played high school football. I know I wasn't that good. Yes, of course, I made this segment about myself in some way, shape, or form. But to go back to the original point, we got to come up with a different way to measure tackles. I know that there's stuffs, there's tackle for a loss, but we got to figure out a way to gauge how the tackle was made. Did he push the other guy back? We got to gauge, because Christian Harris, I guess his stopping power on a tackle, that guy lights people up. A tackle by him is a little bit different than a tackle by a defensive back or a safety. Jalen Petrie had a bunch of tackles last year, but that didn't really seem to measure the amount of missed tackles he had. It's a weird statistic that people use in totality to support an argument for a player that actually isn't good. And Christian Kirksey is an example of that. If you watch the games last year, Kirksey was just slow. And I mean, nothing against him, man. Like, some people are built for an NFL from 10, 20 years ago. Maybe Kirksey would have been good back then, but in the league where you got to cover and you got to fly around and where you're not blowing through the gaps and taking people down in the backfield, like, no, that you don't have a place here.
Yeah, that is like where the tackling, like the tackle as a stat, like kind of doesn't tell the whole story, because what Christian Kirksey like got cut for and why he was. I do agree that he was a factor on last year's Texans defense. Not
a good one.
Not a good one, though. It's about the tackles that you don't make, the tackles that you aren't even in position to make, the coverages that you can't tackle
the
someone
because you don't take up. Right. It's a lot of different things. I would specifically point to that with linebackers. So if you're not great in coverage and you're making a tackle after a catch was made right in front of you and you get dragged for another 2 yards, like, there should be some sort of statistic that punishes you for that.
Yards after contact, but for defense, where it's like, how many extra yards are you giving up?
It's almost like yards after the line of scrimmage, and we have the GPSs to do this. So you could theoretically have some sort of advanced statistic with Amazon or something like that would point out where the tackle is made. And I'd also point to, too, like, guys who occupy blocks, who do a good job of at least just physically putting themselves
like
in a
the
spot.
nose tackles, that kind of thing.
Well, not just nose tackles, but you're right. Like, nose tackles are the best example of that, Sean. But some linebackers are really good at blasting through a gap and just occupying space and forcing a running back or somebody else to go in a different direction.
And letting someone else make the play.
Exactly, and they don't get any credit for it. And, I mean, that would be a really difficult thing to measure. But tackles as a statistic are so misleading, and I feel like not enough people talk about that. It was also interesting that they waived Michael Dieter, the guy who played in place of Kenyon Green in a game on Sunday night where the Texans' offensive line actually looked pretty good. I thought to myself, okay, maybe that means that Kenyon Green isn't going to be your left guard. Well, we saw yesterday that Kenyon Green, who had one play where he looked really bad against the Saints, may have injured himself, got turned like a turnstile on a sack of Davis Mills inside in a goal-to-go situation. D'Amico Ryans had some interesting words when asked about Kenyon Green at his Monday press conference, and we'll get to that in a moment because Sean's answering U of H callers and stuff. When you look at just where Kenyon Green is at this moment in time, I think it's fair to speculate about a variety of different possibilities as to why, to this point, it has not worked out. I think that you can call into question if he was moving around too much on the offensive line like Josh Beard did with me. Make sure you're listening to Josh Beard and The Who coming up next. On Monday, I also think that you could be almost protective of him like DJ Bien-Aimé has been saying, hey, you just got to be patient. But at the same time, I also think you can say, okay, well, for whatever reason, I mean, he seems to be hurt a lot. I don't know if that's a reflection of shape. What is going on with Kenyon Green? D'Amico Ryans was asked about that at his Monday press conference. Here's D'Amico.
The offensive line situation, Dieter, we see he was a guy that deserved more reps, so we gave him some of the reps, seeing how he looked with the first team. Kenyon has done a great job of, battling through. He's dealing with some things. He's battled through a lot, and it's been tough on him, but I'm proud of Kenyon and what he's battled through that everyone may not know, but tough kid, right, going through a lot, but he tried to go every single day, and he pushed it for us, and proud of his effort and what he put out there for us. Yeah, he's been dealing with, multiple things, and I'm proud of Kenyon.
That's pretty ominous, and it doesn't sound like it's an injury. Though you saw that injury he seemed to suffer against the Saints. That didn't look good. It looked like he hurt himself. So I wonder what's up. I suppose you never know what somebody's going through. After all, as we learned yesterday on NFL Cut Day, the NFL is a business, and these guys are people. But I'm not trying to make light of whatever might be going on behind the scenes. That's a pretty strong defense by DeMeco Ryans of a guy that was rather underwhelming in his first year in the NFL, and it seems like right now is struggling to get on the field, whether it's due to health or his ability to actually play or his shape or something like that. But I guess there's something else going on behind the scenes. That's at least what is DeMeco Ryans is saying. It was a pretty non-subtle hint that there's more going on with Kenyon Green than right now. So the Texans traded a 2025 sixth-round pick for another guy, Kendrick Green, from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's interesting to note that this is a guy who's played on the interior offensive line in his career. This is what Ben Roethlisberger, on a podcast that he now hosts, had to say about Kendrick Green.
The fact of the matter that I heard this week, that the guy that they drafted, and I love this guy, so this is not a knock on him. I love Kendrick Green.
Yeah.
He was a great guy, good teammate, loved that. He was my center my last year.
Comes the butt.
They drafted that guy to be my center. Well, last year he didn't even dress, and now they have him playing a little bit of fullback. I think good for him to find a way to get on the field.
Yes.
Like he could say, you know what, I'm not the starting center anymore. I'm not even the backup center. I don't even know what I'm doing. Quit. But he's like, no. Hey, how can I help the team?
You gotta love it.
But it's still funny that that's the guy they got for me. Kevin Colbert and them drafted him to be my center my last year.
Gotta love the podcast hype guys. They're always so great with these athletes. That is the most patronizing assessment that I've heard a player give another player that he played with not that long ago ever. I kind of want to listen to Ben Roethlisberger's podcast now. That was a bless his heart. He needs to find a way to get on the field. Good God.
Yes, it was so backhanded. And he also, it felt like Kendrick Green was like, what's it called? Like just in the line of fire. He just or collateral damage I think he was trying to take out Kevin Colbert. I think he was trying to be like, because he really hit it hard of like, that's who they drafted to be my center? A guy who didn't even play last year and now is playing fullback. And again, bless his heart. I mean, he's out there working hard.
So he was trying to take a shot at Kevin Colbert.
I think so. But being Ben Roethlisberger, he also, I mean, it's an accurate assessment of what happened. He did not dress last year, and he did take reps at fullback this year.
That's the nicest way, but again, patronizing. And it's so backhanded, it's practically a fist. Yeah. Like it's like a boom, for anyone, say it's like somebody's behind you. I'm trying to do this on the Twitch, and of course we're not on video on the radio, but like say like you're holding up your fist and there's somebody behind you and you just smack it back and you hit the person in the face. That's essentially what Ben Roethlisberger just did to Kendrick Green, who the Texans just traded for, and who seems like he would probably be, given that they released Michael Dieter and that Kenyon Green's on the IR, seems like he's going to be slid in to left guard. I can't think of anybody else they're going to put there. So, guy who was barely a fullback for the Steelers, who are good, is now potentially your starting left guard.
A guy that Kevin Colbert drafted to be the center for Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, that's what you're missing. Yeah, everything happens through the lens of how does this affect Ben Roethlisberger? You know,
main character energy, love it.
Big main character energy.
Listen, as someone who has it himself, it's nice to relate with somebody, but I would prefer it not be Ben Roethlisberger in anything in my life. So I'm going to work on my own main character energy.
Ben Roethlisberger, just 2 peas in a pod.
Nope. No.
That's what you just said.
Nope.